Welcome. What is up, Mixer? Welcome to the Week 2 recap, Episode 3. This week in the Mixer. Let's just get straight into it. It was another great weekend of sports. Got to go watch Triple G versus Canelo. Great fight. I'll say good fight, not great. I was expecting it to be a draw, another draw. It was pretty damn close. Looking at the judges' scorecard, I believe the first judge that they read the results of, he had it a draw, and the other two gave the last round to Canelo. If the last round would have went to Triple G, it would have been another draw with a unanimous draw. It would have been all four judges scoring it a draw. So yeah, it was close. I think Triple G had the most impressive flurry in the middle rounds. I think it was the 7th round. And then after that, Triple G seemed to be a little tired, and Canelo just kind of outpointed him in like the 9th and 10th, and then or in the 8th and 9th, and then Canelo ended with a flurry in the 12th. So yeah, that's pretty much how it went. These guys, they're just so evenly matched. Canelo controlled the center of the ring a little more than people thought he was going to, and put on the pressure at the start of the match. It'll be interesting to see if he does the same strategy, if there is a third fight. I'm hoping so, and I'm hoping both these guys just let their hands fly a little bit more, because they're still not striking with as much intensity as you've seen them in other fights where they just kind of go for the knockouts. It's obvious both the fighters respect each other and know that any punch they take can be the last from the other. So yeah, I'm hoping in the next fight, since they'll have nothing to lose, since Triple G now has lost one of the fights, and since Canelo has won one, that they'll just let the hands fly and it'll be more entertaining. Another thing I want to talk about before we got into the recap of the games in the Mixer this weekend was just the unpredictability of the NFL. If you take a look around at some of the league leaders, it is definitely not who you would expect to see at the top. Take, for instance, we have Ryan Fitzpatrick leading the league in passing with 819 yards. Matt Breida is leading the league in rushing with 184 yards. And Deshaun Jackson is leading the league in receiving with 275 yards. Not exactly who you'd expect to be at the top of the leaderboards statistically after 2 weeks. And every year it seems to be teams and players that come out of nowhere. Last year I thought that the Eagles were going to be garbage with I think a quarterback in his, what would that have been, Wentz' second year, and with LeGarrette Blount as their leading running back, and just nobody on defense that I can name. I thought they were going to be one of the worst teams in the league, so it didn't target any of their players in drafts. And then they turn around and they had a new head coach, I believe, or newer head coach. I'm not sure if that was his first year or second year. And anyway, they end up winning the Super Bowl. And a lot of us walking away from our drafts were pointing at teams saying, oh, what's this guy thinking? Like Jeff, for instance. And just before the game start and the pigskin starts flying, you just never know how it's going to turn out. And even week to week later in the year, you don't really know. You kind of have an idea, but there's going to be more surprises. So if your team is struggling right now, if your team is on top right now, just remember it can change from 1 week to the next. All it takes is one play, really. That's the crazy thing about the NFL. One play can change a season, and that's one of the reasons why we love it so much. So it's just interesting that all those league leaders are not who you expect. And I think if we would have left the draft and said that Sean would be leading the mixer by a lot, scoring 354 points through 2 weeks, I think a lot of us would have said, you're wrong. So with that, let's get into how it went down in week 2, the week 2 recap. First, we'll go with Matt versus Danny. Two mixer, I wouldn't say legends, two mixer regulars. One of the original 10 or original members, however many there were. But two teams maybe going in different directions. We got first we'll go over Danny's team, and just the main thing is to kind of give you an idea of the state of Danny's team. When you start Pierre Garçon in your flex spot, you're gonna have a bad time. I think he went for 8 points, which is actually respectable, I suppose. I don't hold Pierre Garçon in high regards, but in super flex spot, you definitely want more points than that. And it's a sign that Danny is willing to plant his flag on Jameis Winston, because Ryan Fitzpatrick cleared waivers. He had the option to pick him up and drop Jameis and maybe figure out that second quarterback position as the year goes on. Since he has Wentz injured on his bench during this matchup, you can't really drop Wentz. So you're planting your flag on Jameis and Mariota in a sense, but I can see why you hang on to Mariota. So Matt noticed this and decides to go pick up Fitzpatrick just to block Danny in case he has a change of heart. And the result is now Matt owns the leading NFL passer. So fun stuff, fun times. And Fitzpatrick put up 34 points on Matt's bench. Another huge day. The difference between the two in the end, between Matt and Danny, was 26. The difference between Pierre Garçon's 8 and Fitzpatrick's 34 was 26. So that would have been a 26-point bump for Danny in theory if he picked up Fitzpatrick. He loses by 29, so he would have lost anyway. I guess since we don't have a league that awards the final 2 playoff points to the highest scoring teams, that's a good thing for Danny. Oh wait, we do. We kind of need those points. Oh well, next week, Danny. Next week. Anyway, for Matt, another solid day. 130 is about the points that you want to score. You kind of target, and you'll probably get a win. I guess you have a 50-50 chance at when you score between 120 and 130 in the mixer. But he gets the win. T.Y. went for 7 catches, 83 yards, and a touchdown. Deshaun Watson bounced back from getting Belichicked the week before. He hooked up with Will Fuller and DeAndre Hopkins for touchdowns. And he went for 310 yards and those 2 touchdowns to his wide receivers on the game. The win for Matt moves him to 1-1. Danny down to 0-2, still looking for a win. More concern is just the state of his team at this time. So Matt takes this one, first one of the season, back to his winning ways, 130 to 101. Next up, we got Jake and Jess. The Minnesota and Green Bay game factored heavily into the contest for these two. Both had key pieces of each side of the ball in that game. Thielen went for 12 receptions, 131 yards, and just a ridiculous touchdown that he literally stole. I said Thielen was thieving. The ball fit through a window maybe the size of a football, somehow squeezed between the 2 defenders, fell into the end zone, got that touchdown late, put the game into overtime. Amari Cooper for Jess remembered how to play football. He got 10 catches for 116 yards. No touchdowns, but 22 points on the day. She will take that any day of the week. Wonder if John Gruden's comment about getting Amari Cooper going had something to do with it. Maybe he paid more attention in the film room. Who knows? Who knows why Amari Cooper has these wide variances when he clearly has the talent. We'll see if it continues. Hopefully, for Jess's sake, he figures it out. Hopefully, for my sake, they start going to a more reliable receiver like Seth Roberts. Devontae Adams also put in a good day. He had 8 catches for 64 yards and a touchdown in that same game. And Jimmy Graham went for 6 catches, 95 yards, had a long touchdown called back, ended up with 0, but still a good day for a tight end. It could have went bigger for Jake and could have been the difference maker. Melvin Gordon put Jess over the top since Jake didn't get that much production out of his running backs. Melvin Gordon scored 3 total touchdowns, 2 receiving, 1 rushing. He had the 3 touchdowns and the total of 29 points on only 28 yards rushing. I don't even think he got that many attempts. The Chargers just got up early, and Melvin Gordon, I believe, got a little dinged up. I think he's going to be all right, but they leaned on Eckler. After that, it just continues to be Melvin Gordon's role in the passing game. He got, let me see here, he got 6 receptions for 38 yards and 2 touchdowns. So something we didn't see when Mike McCoy was here, using Melvin Gordon's pass catching ability, and it's working now. So maybe more on that a little bit later about Melvin Gordon or Mike McCoy. Actually, no, David Johnson's on Danny's team. So yeah, Mike McCoy, I don't know if he's the head coach or the offensive coordinator. I think he's the head coach somehow. Just not knowing how to use David Johnson. I think his average depth of target, his ADOT, is less than a yard. I mean, what are you doing? What are you doing, Cardinals? You have one of the best running backs in the league, one of the best pass catchers, all around skill position players in the league, and you got him doing nothing. Just, the Cardinals need to get it straightened out. Otherwise, those pieces are just going to be unusable. I mean, Fitzgerald on my team, same deal. I think he ended up with 5 points this week, which is just, I mean, he's got the best hands in the league, maybe ever in the NFL, if you based it on drops, and they're just not getting used. So, yeah, McCoy needs to go, like yesterday. So, with Melvin Gordon's points being the difference, Jess wins this one 161 to 158. Close game. Game of the week, I believe. And the win puts both the teams at 1-1. So, right there, fighting for spots. Good bounce back week for Jess after going down the week before. Jake slips up. He'll have to try again next week. After that, so next up we got Anthony versus Sean. So both teams went off in this match. The highest combined total for the week, I guess even the season, all two weeks, but this would have been one of the highest scoring games last year too. So for Anthony, Todd Gurley gets 32 points on 3 touchdowns. AJ Green gets a hat trick of his own, 29 points on 3 TDs. Tyreek scores 20, including a touchdown. Matt Ryan counts for 4 total touchdowns. I think he ran one in, threw for 3. Sean, Big Ben, got 42 points, playing catch-up all day in that Kansas City Chiefs-Pittsburgh Steelers game. He got 4 touchdowns. Michael Thomas got 2 touchdowns and 30 points. Juju, 32 points, went for 13 receptions, 121 yards, and a touchdown. Couldn't give that to Antonio Brown. little bit of it, just a little bit. Kelsey went for 7 receptions, 109 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 30 points. And to top it off, Kamara had an off day and just scored just 17 points. Just 17 for a low production day for Alvin Kamara. He got 17 points. That's what we're dealing with, Mixer. These teams, pretty damn good. That's a lot of touchdowns. That's more than... I mean, we could have Mixer matchups where... like 2 games where there's not as many touchdowns as I just listed off. And those were just a few of their players. So, yeah. Looking to be favorites for playoff spots for sure. Sean's on top. Anthony, unfortunately, is getting the raw end of matchups right now, going down to Mason in a high-scoring game last week. Tough luck. He goes down to Sean this week, losing 184 to 169. Sean's putting the league on notice after 2 weeks. He seems to be the juggernaut, and we are his bitches. Next up, we got Zach against Mason. Zach had good days from his wide receivers. DeAndre Hopkins bounced back from being shut down against the Patriots the week before. Got 6 receptions, 110 yards, and a touchdown en route to a 24-point day. Brandon Cooks went for 7, 159, no touchdowns, but 23 points. And Lockett chipped in as his third receiver. A good spot start for Zach. 5 receptions, 60 yards, a touchdown, and 17 points. On top of that, for Zach, Disley, somehow, the no-name tight end that Jeff should have took, had a good day. 13 points. He got 3 receptions, 42 yards, and a touchdown. For Mason, he was carried by Saquon Barkley, who got 24 points, mostly on receptions. He had 14 receptions for a running back for 80 yards. No touchdowns, but in a PPR, that adds up, as indicated by the 24 points he scored. And also for Mason, Stephon Diggs had a good day. 9 receptions, 128 yards, 2 touchdowns, 36 points in that crazy Minnesota-Green Bay game. Zach, unfortunately, goes down in this match, in part to leaving Dalton on the bench, which somehow was a better play than Brady. Not process-wise, but maybe results-wise. He left 11 points on the bench, and he loses by 7. So Zach falls to Mason, 149 to 142. Zach goes to 1-1, drops to 1-1. Mason, the other team, at 2-0 with Sean, looking to be good. Don't look now. Mason is 2-0. Imagine if he's in the finals. Last match, we have me taking on Jeff. My bye week, I said in the last video. Knew that was going to happen. Knew that was going to bite me in the ass. I'm just reminded of that SpongeBob meme picture with his pants off and gassed. Not good. Not good. So, Mahomes, story of the year, if it weren't for probably that Fitzpatrick picture that we all know now. Story of the year would be Mahomes, his start to the season. He threw for 6 touchdowns, 41 points. Again, he had it done early in the first half. I think he threw for 4. And then 2 in the second half. Wait, I think I just got an update. Mahomes threw another touchdown. I think he's at 7 now. Dude just cannot stop scoring. We'll see how it lasts over the season. McCaffrey also stood out for Jeff, especially in receiving game. It's a trend we're seeing that the game is moving towards, while coaches like Mike McCoy don't seem to adjust. McCaffrey, 14 receptions, 102 yards. En route to a 28-point day for Jeff. Galladay both went over for 20 points or more. The receivers that are going late receiver Jeff's strategy seems to have worked out this week. We'll see how it lasts over the length of the season. And on my side of things, it just came down to some key players just kind of hitting their floors. Gronk had 3 points. I think he had 2 receptions for 15. That's not going to happen very often out of a healthy Gronk. He was getting blanketed in coverage by Jacksonville, so it was a tough matchup. But still, I would expect more from Gronk. Fitzgerald, just see Mike McCoy. Mixon got hurt. He still got like 84 yards, but he only had 1 catch, so just wouldn't do it for me. And Antonio Brown had 15 points, which is okay, but not when he's your number 1 pick, and you expect him to get about 30 each week, usually at least 25. He got 15 and didn't show up to work on Monday, so we'll have to see how that goes. This is fine. This is totally fine. So, the win for Jeff moves him to 1-1. Loss for me drops me to 1-1. Final score 168 to 108. But hey, I scored more than Danny, so that wraps up. Oh, nope, wait, almost forgot. Good thing I didn't. Don't want to forget about Mr. Irrelevant. Mr. Irrelevant, he got a catch this week. Yes, he's on the board. It's all downhill from here. 1 catch, 13 yards, 2 points. 1 less than Rob Gronkowski. All right. Next up, next week. That wraps up week 3 or week 2. Getting a little ahead of ourselves. How's your team doing? Mine's not where I want it to be, but we'll get there. It's a long season. Hang in there. Offer those trades. Get it done. Make your team better. Next week, we'll look at Sean versus Zach, Jess versus Mason, Jeff versus Anthony, Matt versus Jake, and me versus Danny. We'll check in with Mr. Irrelevant. We'll check in with Amari Cooper. We'll see if anything happens at Conor McGregor's press conference that's coming this week. Thursday, the 20th. So, set your DVRs. And maybe we'll talk a little baseball playoffs, since the fantasy season's wrapping up for baseball and real playoffs are about to happen. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about that. That's it. Week 2 is in the books. Maybe a bonus video tomorrow with Jeff before soccer. If he shows up, don't stand me up like Matt did last week. Let's get it done. Go get it.